welcome back. This may be the busiest the board has ever been when it comes to monthly recaps. A lot of amazing albums dropped this month, so I highly recommend all of these. So let's just jump into it. So Kamasi Washington with Fearless Movement. This is my first full album experience with a Kamasi Washington record, and I've gotten more and more into jazz and improvised music, especially with the past couple albums released this year. So this was really up my alley. It is a very long record, but the experience and the overall package that this album gives is something that, even if you're not really into diving into this album multiple times or diving into the jazz genre, I believe Fearless Movement is definitely worth at least one listen, because the amount of experiences, the amount of these amazing musical set pieces that are in these songs across multiple tracks as well is definitely worth your time. There's a couple of features as well from D Smoke, BJ the Chicago Kid, and a couple others. Kamasi Washington again just brings some amazing improvised jazz music that I highly recommend at least one listen through. So Knock Loose, You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to. I did make a video on this album, and it is still as punishing, pulverizing, thrilling, and sometimes terrifying to listen. It still really hits hard to this day. It is a compact listen. It is a brutal listen. It doesn't give you a lot of moments to breathe. The features on here from Poppy and Motionless in White bring some absolutely thrilling and just crazy moments that I haven't experienced on a metalcore record, honestly, ever. So if you're looking for a shot of adrenaline that does offer surprisingly catchy moments and moments that still leave me shocked to this day, I highly recommend You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to. I will post the video that I did in the description down below. So Casey Hill with Bug. So I've been following Casey Hill for a pretty long time. Of course, everyone knows Casey Hill is the 90210 girl that sang that amazing hook. But she's honestly had a pretty great underrated discography, and Bug may possibly be one of her best ones. I do remember talking about the most previous album before this one onto a New to You series that I used to do. But this one feels a lot more earthy, if you know what I mean. It sounds a lot more organic. It sounds a lot more kind of buried and kind of mixed in with a lot of more acoustics, something a little bit more in that dreamy kind of bedroom pop kind of sound. So if you're into like artists like Clairo, I think you'll really enjoy this new Casey Hill record. Casey Hill still has an incredible voice. She doesn't really experiment all that much on this record, but it's just a very pleasant and soft listen that you'll definitely get some really solid tracks of, especially going into the summertime. So Vince Staples with Dark Times. Vince's probably best album out of his 3-album run of the past decade so far. It does bring back a tiny bit more of the grit that we've experienced in 2015 onwards, 2015 to 2017, around that era. And it does allow Vince Staples to be his most vulnerable and most kind of honest about himself, his mind state, his neighborhood, relationships that he is in, and relationships he's wanting to get into. So this is definitely his most kind of revealing body of work out of these 3 albums. Of course, these 3 albums have had pieces sprinkled through about Vince's personal life, but I feel like this one kind of dives into the psyche of Vince the most. So I think this is a pretty great album, not to mention, too, the songs are structured fantastically, and some of the catchiest songs that he has done in a few years are on this record as well. Phoebe Go with Marmalade. It's not Phoebe Bridgers, but for some reason I like artist named Phoebe, I guess. So this kind of falls in the same category as Casey Hill with Bug. I just found this record, I think, just scrolling through Album of the Year, and it is more of that kind of bedroom pop, bedroom folky kind of sound, indie folk kind of sounds that I do really enjoy. I really gravitate toward that particular sound, and I think Phoebe Go does a pretty good job at kind of making her own lane for it. That's something that's a little bit softer, a little bit more pillowy, and a little bit more airy in its sound. There's a lot of great songs on here, but particularly the last few songs on this record definitely is where the album kind of stands on its own. Leave is a great example of that, and The Good Fight is probably one of my favorite songs of the year. I love those 2 songs, especially when they're back-to-back. 2 of my favorite songs of the year. I love those things. So Phoebe Go with Marmalade is a fantastic record. So Billie Eilish, Hit Me Hard and Soft. Again, this is probably Billie's most explorative record, especially when it comes to her vocals. There's good elements of like this amazing pop. You do get some more kind of organic moments of instrumentation. And again, Billie Eilish is really growing immensely when it comes to her vocal range and what she can do with her voice. When she used to have a very wispy, a very kind of airy voice to her, now she has brought the power and the presence into her vocals, and coinciding with the lyrics, really does provide some really emotional and some really just incredible moments that you won't really see on a lot of mainstream pop records this year. So, Billie Eilish hit me hard and soft. Chief Keef, Almighty So Too, it finally dropped. I feel like we have been waiting for Almighty So 2 for like pretty close to 2 years. And I remember that Chief Keef released, I think it was Dirty Nachos a couple months ago, and I didn't do a review for it because it was honestly pretty disappointing and also just really nothing to talk about. But I'm glad Almighty So 2 is out because it was worth the wait. Chief Keef really spreads his wings as a producer. He had some amazing beats on here. Chief Keef brings the energy that I wanted out of Dirty Nachos. He really brings the energy on this. There's a lot of great tracks on here that show a little bit of humor, show a little bit of the catchiness, and show a little bit of that hard drill sound that Chief Keef is known for. This is a really big return to form for him. I remember getting back onto the train before them, and I feel like this is a little bit better than that there too. So Almighty So 2 is an incredible listen. I honestly highly recommend it, especially looking for some really good, just trunk-knocking trap for this year. And finally, Bring Me the Horizon, Post Human Next Gen. This is the album I've probably returned to the most this month. Just a great blend of emo. You get some electronic sounds into it. You get a really just a big old plate of everything with this record. And it's all of the sounds that Bring Me the Horizon has been working on for the past probably almost 10 years that have been incredibly refined into this record. And you do get those moments of experimentation like NA, Dig It. You get some songs like Die For You and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of different kind of sounds, and all of them, for the most part, do really stick the landing. And even with the absence of Jordan Fish, who was an amazing synth lead producer and someone that was really good at bringing the Horizon to where they are now, I feel like at this point, Bring Me the Horizon is in very good hands by themselves. I think they've really cemented their sound, and they're still very much pioneers in that metalcore genre. I really hope we continue to build off of this record and hopefully to see more of the Post-Human series. So that is all the albums from May of 2024 that I've at least listened to. So what were the albums that you listened to? Is there any albums that you recommend? Hit the like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you again very soon.